Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Wednesday, the 17th day of January, year of our Lord 2018. Welcome to the John Moore Show. Our prepper tip of the day, I believe this is one I've never done before, and it would be helpful for pretty much everybody listening. Here it is. I want to encourage you to consider making a label for your cell phone. The label would have your name. If you're a single woman, you may want to have the name of a friend, a male friend, name, address, and another telephone number that can be contacted. Attach that to the back of the cell phone. Cover it with clear packing tape, something that's substantial and clear, nice and tough, strong packing tape. And if you lose your cell phone, I'd say there was a much greater chance of getting it returned to you than if you don't have that kind of tag on there. I've got one on the back of my phone. My wife, Dr. Moore, has one on the back of hers, and she dropped her telephone on the parking lot of a restaurant and lost it there. And before she got home, I had a telephone call from the person who found it, offering to return the telephone. So that's your prepper tip of the day. I hope it helps a lot of you folks out there. Professor McKinney has the morning off. We will have open lines, and the call number is 800-313-9443. I just ran across a new piece of equipment this morning made by Pulsar. Pulsar makes really, in my opinion, good quality optics, night vision equipment, and so forth. Not the real high-end stuff that costs many thousands of dollars, but good quality equipment that's reasonably priced. These two pieces of equipment are night vision devices that fit on the front end of your telescopic sight you've already got mounted on your rifle. And there's two models, the forward F135 and forward F155. That's forward Foxtrot 135 and forward Foxtrot 155. Retailing right around $1,000 to $1,100 for the two models. The 135 is right at $1,000. The 155 is about $100 more. I'm not sure what the difference is between the two yet. And you would have to buy a mounting device for about another $100 or so to have the proper mounting device. Our device is there's a couple of aspects of this type of equipment that really makes them attractive to myself and probably to many others of you out there. First of all, putting on and taking off optics. I know that there's different mounts now that claim to maintain zero, and they do most of the time under most circumstances. I don't trust that 100%. I think that they have become quite reliable and quite good at what they claim to do on one hand. On the other, if you have a scope properly sighted in your rifle, and you know for a fact that it's good and solid and sighted in precisely the way you want it sighted in. I know for myself, I don't want to be putting it on, taking it off with or without a mount that claims to not lose zero. So with this particular piece of equipment, this Pulsar forward F135 or the forward F155, your scope remains attached, unmoved, on top of the rifle, and you attach on the front end of it with a quick attach, quick detach mount. Once there's two parts of this. You attach a mounting ring on the front of your scope, which just stays there as long as you think you might want to use this piece of equipment. That just stays in place all the time. And the optic itself, the Pulsar night vision optic, has a quick attach mechanism that allows you to place it on there, turn it part of a turn, and it's locked in place, ready to go in a matter of seconds. So you have the option of mounting or dismounting that same night vision equipment on 2 or more rifles if you choose to, which is a really great feature. The option of not having to take off your regular scope, which gives me peace of mind knowing that I'm not going to lose my zero. So it looks like a real win-win situation for people that want to have that capability. And keep in mind that almost half of every day is darkness. More in the winter, less in the summer, but there's always a lot of darkness in the lower 48 especially. I know there's parts of Alaska where it never really gets dark, but that's their situation up there. Yeah, so I think it's worth checking out. I'm going to be talking to a couple of my buddies in special ops to see what their thoughts are. I think they're probably going to share my opinion of this new pulsar technology, this new pulsar equipment that's being offered for sale. It's fairly compact and fairly lightweight too. $1,000 may sound like a lot of money for many people. I know it is, but when it comes to good quality night vision, it's really not all that much money anymore. It simply isn't. All right. Well, it was looking at the news. It was 20 years ago today that Drudge Report broke the news about the White House intern having an intimate physical relationship with the President of the United States, William Jefferson Clinton. And that was huge news at the time. I'm getting reports, segue here. One of my correspondents, Andy in Ireland, over there in the UK, we correspond occasionally. His analysis, and he has some good analytical skills. He believes there's a possibility that this incident in Hawaii a couple of days ago was actually a real incident where a real missile may have been shot down. He sees some evidence of that. I wouldn't call it clear and convincing, but it is, I would say, circumstantial, at least. It is worth looking into, and I don't know. A lot of speculation, not a whole lot of evidence, and that's something that hopefully we'll get some more real evidence on this as opposed to just pure speculation. If you're a new listener and aren't familiar with me and my show, you need to go to my website. You can read my bio there. I got a photograph of myself wearing coat and tie. My hair was still partly brown when that photograph was taken, on the top left there. In the right-hand side is a photograph of me a couple of years ago during a Memorial Day parade. I'm on the running board of a deuce and a half, wearing my tiger stripe fatigues, my beret, my 45, and a full flap holster, which I carried, not the same one, but I did carry a 1911 and a full flap holster on duty in Vietnam. Off duty, I stuck it in the waistband of my jeans and let my shirt drape over it, and we call that Mexican carry. I didn't have a proper holster for off duty, so I just stuck it in my waistband and let my shirt drape over it, and that was that. So I got my bio there, some career highlights, so forth. There's a lot there at my website at thelibertyman.com, an awful lot. You can spend a lot of time there. I'm not so sure I'd encourage you to do it all at once. But when you start scrolling down these sides here, you'll find free downloads of books. You'll find John's survival and tactical gear, which we continue to expand that incrementally. There's a few items that I inventory and keep here at my premises, such as the energy cleaner and the Faraday bags and my videos, of course. But the majority of the couple of hundred plus things there are Amazon products that I offer through my website. As I sometimes say, if John Moore was going to have a yard sale, these are the kinds of things that you would see there. It's quite a list. Maybe some things there you don't know even exist, such as, I'll just give one example, small devices that you can place on any heated surface. It could be a wood stove, a gas range stove, and it makes electricity to charge up whatever needs to be charged up. They're pretty neat, isn't it? A book there on the right side that I talk about occasionally, free download, the copyright's long expired. It was published back when I was in high school in the mid-1960s. The title of the book is The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. It's a phenomenal book. Now, if you're familiar with the genre of this type of kind of generically called a self-help book, you can probably find 36 or more similar books. What you won't find, however, and there's a few that do what this book does, a few. What this book does that most of them don't do is give you specific, detailed instructions on how to gain the clarity, gain the focus that you need to achieve any goal that you want to achieve. It may be a health-related goal. It may be a career-related goal. It may be a relationship-related goal. Whatever it might be. This book gives you the clear, concise methods in order to achieve and do those things. Excellent, excellent book, and it can really change your life in very positive ways. Written, by the way, from a Christian perspective, Dr. Murphy was an ordained minister, and he was the author of 10 or 12 books, all of which have value, I believe, but this one, in my opinion, has the most value. Up from there a little bit, Field Training Exercise USS Liberty, December 31st, 2018. We began that section about 4 months ago. We're now down to less than 12 months. I've been a radio talk show host since 1995. I had a few break there, but not so it hasn't been continuous. But I began as a radio talk show host in 1995, focusing even back then on preparedness. The question that started coming up pretty quickly then, which continues to this day, is the following. John, when's it going to happen? It could be any number of things. Back in 1997, 98, 99, it was Y2K, which was a man-made problem that did, in fact, have a man-made solution. 10 years' worth of computers were bought in less than 2 years, and they fixed it for the most part. But when you click on that, Field Training Exercise USS Liberty, December 31st, 2018, you'll find you get your choice of what to prepare for. 5 different things. Number 1, economic collapse leading to civil disorder. 2, World War III. Number 3, rapid onset of violent earth changes. 4, widespread terrorist attacks. 5, natural man-made EMP. So pick a scenario, or 2, or even all 5 if you want to, and start getting ready. And I give you something that people have been looking for. I give you a specific date to get ready for these scenarios, December 31st, 2018. It's 11 and a half months away. That will fly by. Those 11 and a half months will fly by. If you're not aware of it, I'm here to tell you that they will. So going down from there, we say John's advice. Number 1, get your spiritual house in order. Now, also my website, you'll see professional consultations and keynote presentations. I've been doing private consultations for preparedness more than 40 years. The first one I did was the summer of 1977. And what I found over these decades is that people who do not have their spiritual house in order, it doesn't matter how much stuff they got. Freeze-dried food, medical supplies, toilet paper, firearms, ammunition, whatever it might be, sleeping bags. If they don't have the spiritual house in order, it's never enough. They never have peace in their heart. And I've known people like this, and it's really pretty sad. So it's number one for a reason, because it is the most important thing. Now, the experience of World War II resulted in thousands of books being written by people all over the world, as well there should have been. The books written by people who survived the prisoner camps, the death camps, the concentration camps, they make the following observation: that men and women who went into these camps, into these prisons, concentration camps, men and women who had a strong spiritual foundation going into those camps, had a far greater chance of surviving those camps than the ones who did not. That's well documented. Moving on from there, number two, acquire the skills you would need. Now, I advise people to consider becoming part of, somehow, some way, becoming part of a hobby farm. Now, out here where I am in the Ozarks, most of these men have a tractor, and it's a matter of personal pride to do most of the maintenance on the tractor most of the time. Now, we're getting to a point now where these modern tractors are so heavily filled up with electronics and computers that these farmers no longer can do all the repairs that they used to. But for farmers who own the older tractors that don't have a load of computers on board, it's a matter of personal pride to be able to do all the work, and a matter of humiliation not to be able to do it for most of these men most of the time. I use that as one example. On a farm or on a ranch, you're going to have many, many skills. We have a break. Call numbers 800-313-9443. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. J.R. Moore here on Wednesday, the 17th of January. The month is more than half over. How about that? Taking your questions, calls, and comments. We're talking about preparedness, talking about getting ready for whatever your concerns are. Everybody's got their own concerns. Call numbers 800-313-9443. Before the break, I was talking about the skills that a person might need. Within a 15-minute drive of where I am, there are complete metalworking shops, complete automotive and truck repair shops, complete woodworking shops, men with skills in plumbing, carpentry, electrical work, metal work, automotive and tractor repair. You drive past these places, you're not going to see any signs. Joe's Auto Repair, Bill's Metalworking Shop. They're just what appear to be agricultural metal buildings, not far from a farmhouse, sitting there with no sign, no outward display at all that there's anything going on inside that place except maybe some bales of hay being stored. Nothing to let you know that there's a man who occupies that premises who has high-level metalworking skills, can make precision metal products, a man who can work on any truck or any automobile with latest up-to-date computer-controlled equipment, a man who can do woodworking that would be high-level woodworking any place in the country, and so forth. And that's just the way it is out here in the Ozarks. As far as what skills you would need, well, on a hobby farm, obviously, the skills of a gardener, agricultural skills of that nature, horticulture, animal husbandry, the ability to care for chickens and rabbits, goats, sheep, whatever it might be. Animal husbandry, which includes being able to diagnose and treat the various illnesses and diseases that these animals will get, to make sure that they stay safe and they're healthy, and to, of course, be able to slaughter them and harvest the meat, and to be able to milk if it's a milk animal such as a goat or a milk cow, be able to milk that animal and get the milk, and so forth. On a hobby farm, typically the people that live there do most of the work most of the time. Carpentry, plumbing, electrical work. Within their abilities. Now, a smart man or a smart woman, they know their limits. And I know for myself, I can do minor electrical repairs. I know my limits. I don't go past them. When I get to the point where I don't feel I have the skill set, my skill set is not far enough advanced, I call an electrician. Plumbing, well, I grew up in a plumbing family, so I can do most anything related to plumbing. That's not too much of an issue. Obviously, if there's excavating that needs to be done, I'm going to call in somebody with a backhoe. But when it comes to most plumbing things, I got that under control. The carpentry, it's I can do carpenter work on one hand. On the other, I find it very insightful and a pleasure to watch a qualified carpenter. I recall we were building a overhang on the deck of my cabin, where here a little kind of a porch kind of thing, roof over the deck. And one of the people I work with, he's a journeyman carpenter, and I watch him get up and take a measurement, get down, and make the cut, the right cut at the right angle, the proper length the first time, and get that piece of 2x6 back up there and get it screwed in. And I watched, and I was helping the best of my ability with getting different materials and so forth. And after watching for a couple of hours, I said, Ed, I can do what you do. It would just take me twice as long, and I would waste twice as much material. So yes, while there's things I can do, I won't be, when it comes to carpenter work, I won't be nearly as fast or nearly as efficient as a journeyman carpenter. I simply won't be. I'll struggle along and get the job done somehow, some way. Many skills. Now, here's our Bob and the Hour break. Call numbers 800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. J.R. Moore here on Wednesday, the 17th of January. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. Yes, there's a lot there. We'll be back to our discussion in a moment. One of my home business that I do take care of, and people are surprised when I pick up the phone. If you call the number listed at my website, you'll get me. I do answer the phone. I have a toll-free auto line, of course, to place orders for energy cleaners and the mattress pads. Energy cleaners and the mattress pads is my home business. When you place your order, I'm the guy that fulfills it. I personally box up and pack the energy cleaners and ship them to you from the little country post office at Cherryville, Missouri. When you buy a mattress pad, I'm the guy who reconfigures the mattress pad, box them up, and ship them to you. The energy cleaner is a marvelous healing device. If you have a joint pain, arthritis pain, back pain, what are you waiting for? I'm now offering, as of 17 days ago, a 90-day money-back guarantee. You're risking nothing when you get your energy cleaner. $285. Now, 18 years ago, they were $3,000. Handmade, one at a time, with a very nice Amish wood cabinet plugged into the wall of all things. Those days are gone. We now have modern technology. The unit that cost $3,000 is now $285, shipping included to American zip codes. So check it out. When you want to place your order, you can go right to my website at thelibertyman.com. Use PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. I do take checks. My address is there at my website. You need to mail me a check. And I got a toll-free auto line. Here it is, 800-592-9543. So again, 800-592-9543. We are taking your questions, calls, and comments here at Republic Broadcasting at 800-313-9443. Getting back to skills. Now, if you heard this before, no apologies. This is radio. We always have new listeners. I refer to radio as a classroom with a revolving door at the back. Always new students coming in the door. If your group of 6 or 600, there's 2 skills that'll be in the biggest demand and shortest supply. Here's what those 2 skills are. Emergency medical treatment skills and ham radio skills. That's the way it will be. Emergency medical treatment skills and ham radio skills. You need both. You really do, to make yourself valuable to people you care about and to the group you're working with. So you might want to consider getting those skills. Now here locally, we got a preparedness group I work with during the warmer weather, I should say. We have a free movie we show every Friday night here at the Davisville American Legion post around the Commander. We have monthly training all year long, usually the first Saturday. And our training this month is going to be professional grade CPR, which is going to include the use of these defibrillators. It's a new aspect of this training. Next month we're having first responder training, and it's going to be a full calendar this upcoming year of a lot of useful skills that we'll be learning as we move through the year. They're just regular guys and gals here out here in the Ozarks who come together once a month to learn new skills. And there's a social aspect to it, of course. We have potluck dinners. We have our free movie night where, beginning this spring, the hour before the movie is shown, we're going to have a ham radio class as another way of encouraging people to get their ham radio license. It's a very, very foundational skill to have. Number 3, I encourage people to establish and work with a team. A team can be people you're related to by blood or marriage. It could be friends. It could be your church group. Doesn't matter. People you went to school with, people you're in the military with, doesn't matter. You really do need a team. You don't want to be going to a long-term survival situation with just the 2 or 3 people. You really don't. That's not wise for a number of reasons. You need a team. I would say a good-sized team would be 12 adults. That would be a good-sized team. 12 people working together can accomplish an awful lot. And something to keep in mind is the number 168. Why is that? John, what's 168? What does that mean? That's how many hours there are in a week. During a long-term or even a short-term crisis, a responsible adult's going to have to be awake all night, every night. And that could be split up between different responsible adults, but that's my reality. I'm watching the Ken Burns documentary, The Vietnam War. I finished disc number 7 last night. And Ted and Hawaii, thank you, sir, again. And they mentioned that during the Tet Offensive at the headquarters for the entire country, not a single flag rank officer was in the headquarters when the Tet Offensive began. Not one flag rank officer was in the command and control for the entire country, what they called Pentagon East back then. That's unacceptable, but that's the way it was. And they were with one of the flag rank officers. They were reluctant to wake him up. They didn't want to get in trouble for waking up the general. Yeah. But you need a team. And these need to be people that you know and trust without question. Number 4, establish your safe haven. You need a safe haven. You really do. It's not going to be in a urban or suburban area. It simply won't be. Shouldn't be. If that's your choice, God bless you, and I wish you the best of luck. It would not be wise to have a safe haven for a long-term crisis in an urban or suburban area. Too many people, too many problems. Ideally, 80 to 100 miles from a major metropolitan area. Now, if there's a natural barrier between you and a major metropolitan area, that could be a shorter distance. But it should be a good distance from a major metropolitan area. Hopefully a hobby farm. Let's go through these scenarios that I list here, these 5 scenarios. Number 1, economic collapse leading to civil disorder. Regardless of how good Donald Trump is, and for right now, Donald Trump is as good as it's going to get as far as a president. The national debt is not sustainable, and it grows exponentially. Between the entitlement programs and the Department of Defense, they can't curtail the entitlements, unfortunately, because to do so would cause massive civil disorder. It will not have a good end, and that bad ending is inevitable. I can't say when. I can say it's inevitable. Number 2, World War III. Unless you've been living in a cave, you certainly understand the hot spots, the short list. We've got North Korea, we've got China and Taiwan, we've got the Middle East, and of course Russia with the Ukraine. Any one of which could become the flashpoint for the Third World War. There's a couple of others. India and Pakistan is a flashpoint, but the ones I listed are the main ones. Another world. What was it? Einstein who said, "I don't know how the Third World War will be fought, but I know the Fourth World War will be fought with sticks and stones." It would be devastating for all the reasons that are obvious. How do you get ready for World War III? Well, going back to my original premise, a hobby farm, having underground or below grade shelter would be wise. Nuclear radiation does not mean the end of the world. It means you're going to have to make prudent preparations to deal with it. The most dangerous part of the radiation would be finished in about 2 weeks. You can survive it. This planet's gone through this before, by the way. There's been nuclear war on this planet 12,000 years ago, by the way, and that's well documented and well understood among people who study such matters. Number 3, rapid onset, violent earth changes. This is an area that I've looked into more than most people. I understand better than most. There's an excellent Hollywood film I would suggest watching. The film is titled The Day After Tomorrow. I sometimes refer to us right now living the day after tomorrow in slow motion. Dennis Quaid is the lead, by the way. The main premise of the film is that the Gulf Stream stops. Now, of course, they go to the politically correct reason for that being human-caused climate change, which is a fantasy. But the main premise is that the Gulf Stream stops, and when it does, it brings a ice age upon the northern hemisphere. I refer to us living that film in slow motion. It's Hollywood, and everything takes place over a matter of a few weeks after the Gulf Stream stops. There's a scene in there that I always think about and refer back to, where the two scientists, the scientist on an island off the coast of Scotland, and the scientist in the United States, a paleoclimatologist, I think is what Dennis Quaid was called, who studies ancient weather. The scientist off the coast of Scotland, he's at a research station with 2 other men. Their fuel is expired to keep them warm, to keep them from freezing to death. And the scientist of Scotland is on the phone with the American scientist, and the Scottish scientist says, "Save the ones that you can. Save the ones that you can." I think I'm getting at a pretty close quote there. And then the telephone conversation ends. Well, the Gulf Stream stopped June 12, 2010. That's scientifically provable. And we have, thanks to the modern technology we've got, the archives from 2 interviews we did, myself and Dr. Bill Deagle did with Dr. Louisiana Zangari. The archives are right there on the left-hand side. You scroll down the left side, scroll down. In red letters it says, "The Gulf Stream has stopped," in radio interview 1, and below that, radio interview 2. These 2 interviews took place the 3rd Friday and 4th Friday of July 2010. Now, Dr. Zangari is a PhD scientist living and working in Italy, along with other PhD scientists in North America and Europe, studying one thing and one thing only, that being the Gulf Stream in the North Atlantic, also called the North Atlantic Thermohaline Conveyor. In the first interview, Dr. Zangari says that we believe the Gulf Stream has stopped. We need to recheck our figures. In the second interview, he says, yes, the Gulf Stream, we've checked our figures. The Gulf Stream stopped June 12th. That was 2010. And I'd been studying the Gulf Stream for about 5 years at that point in time. And I knew more than most people about it, but there's something I didn't know that I found out from that interview, and you can listen for yourself. That the Gulf Stream used to, past tense, the Gulf Stream used to control the jet stream in the Northern Hemisphere. There's 3 jet streams: Northern Hemisphere, Equatorial, and Southern Hemisphere. That control provided by the Gulf Stream gave a certain level of certainty, a certain level of dependability on what the jet stream would do. Spring, summer, winter, fall. That's all gone. And we're living the consequences of that right now. It kicked in immediately. Within a few weeks of the Gulf Stream stopping, Moscow, which has something almost no place has, Moscow, which has weather records going back more than 1,000 years, had the hottest summer in 1,000 plus years. 6 months later, Moscow had the coldest winter in 1,000 years. How about that? Within months, within less than a year of the Gulf Stream stopping, we had pipes freezing underground in the UK. We're having pipes freeze underground here where I live. It's so dry, this drought is very severe. If it continues into the spring, my cattle ranching neighbors are going to be in big trouble because they depend on these stock ponds for the water. These cows consume a lot of water every day. And I found out by talking, and I confirmed, one of my neighbors told me what he believed and Professor McCanny confirmed it, that dry earth conducts heat or cold much more efficiently and quickly than moist dirt does. And that's what's going on here. So people, one of my neighbors, he's lived in the same home for 20 years. They have a pipe underground between their pump out in the yard and the house, runs about 100 feet. And we've had cold winters in the past. It's been this cold in the past, many winters. Where it's down to 0, maybe 5 or 10 below 0. Never had any pipes freeze before underground, but this winter he did. He says, John, it's the dry dirt. That's why the pipes are freezing. It's the dry dirt. I meet very few people who will admit to having watched Al Gore's documentary, An Inconvenient Truth. But in that documentary, there's science and science fiction. The science, one of the parts of science is that there will be violently rising ocean levels. That will happen. Science fiction is the middle of the century. It won't be 2050. It'll be long before then. It's easily provable by what the federal government's been doing. Why would they move thousands of federal employees, their spouses, all their household goods from the East Coast to the middle of the country if they didn't have to? Well, obviously they need to. Here's our break. Call numbers 800-313-9443. We'll be right back. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back J.R. Moore on Wednesday, the 17th of January. The film, The Day After Tomorrow, it's well done. good acting. There's several subplots in there, including a love story. It's well worth your time. It really is. Now, the film, just like Al Gore's documentary, An Inconvenient Truth, has some science in there and some science fiction. Now, the film begins with, well, there are some spectacular things, but near the beginning of the film, these three scientists on an island off the coast of Scotland are monitoring buoys out there in the North Atlantic, buoys that measure the temperature of the ocean. And they're it's a pretty boring job for the most part. They've got various equipment they monitor, and they watch soccer games on TV at the same time, and let the monitors alert them with an audio alert when something needs to be looked at. So they're watching soccer, and then a buoy starts flashing that there's a rapid decrease in the temperature of the water. And they look at that, and they go back to watching soccer, thinking it's just an anomaly. And then a second one goes off, and then a third. And then within a few minutes, they see all their buoys are flashing, warning, dramatic temperature decrease. And that was the alert that the Gulf Stream was in the process of breaking down and stopping. A very dramatic Hollywood special effects kind of thing there that would it was supposed to represent the Gulf Stream stopping, which did happen, by the way, on June 12th, 2010. Now, the film came out before the Gulf Stream stopped. I'm not sure how many years. I don't have that in front of me here. Several years. And so Dr. Deagle and I were debriefing. We're interviewing Dr. Zangari. And within a few days of that second interview in July of 2010, I watched the film The Day After Tomorrow again. And the film took on a whole new meaning. There's a paper that I read that took on a whole new meaning. This is a free download at my website. And let's see here, if I can find that right here. I think under free downloads. I'll click on there. And let's see, we've got, here we go. Now, under free downloads. It's about the fourth or fifth one down. It says, now this is about a 20-page paper paid for with your tax dollars. An abrupt climate change scenario and its implications for United States national security. We'll talk about that after the break. Stay tuned. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here, our second hour on Wednesday, the 17th of January. Prepper tip of the day. I want to encourage all of you to consider making labels to place on your cell phones, maybe other devices as well, but cell phones at least, with your name, address, a telephone number that you can be contacted at, and put that on the back of your cell phone, cover with heavy, clear plastic tape. If you're a single woman, you may want to use the name and address of a male friend or a male relative, or maybe the place of work, so that if you lose that cell phone, it can be returned to you. I've been doing this for years, and it does work. So check it out. Before the break, I was talking about a very important paper. You can download it and print it out. You can read it right there on my website if you like. This was paid for with your tax dollars, by the way. The Department of Defense paid two researchers to research the consequences of two possible future premises. This was back around 2003, 2004, along in there. Let's click on this thing. They probably give the publication date, I believe. October 2003. So they probably worked on it, I would say, better part of a year. So I would say they began work on this probably around October 2002, maybe even earlier than that. It takes a lot of work to put together a paper like this. The two authors are Peter Schwartz and Doug Randall. The Pentagon gave them the assignment to determine the consequences of two possible future emphasis on future scenarios. The first one, the Gulf Stream slowing down substantially. The second one, the Gulf Stream stopping. Now, once again, after our interview with Dr. Zangari, I went back and read this paper again, and while it was troublesome the first time I read it, the first several times I read it, the Gulf Stream was still more or less functioning. But reading this paper after gaining the knowledge that the Gulf Stream had in fact stopped June 12, 2010, the paper took on a whole new meaning. I refer to this as it's 22 pages, by the way, the 22 scariest pages of nonfiction you may ever read in your life. It has that potential. Here's the executive summary here. Now, before I'm going to do one paragraph here. When this paper was written, the reason the Pentagon gave these gentlemen this assignment is because the evidence was already showing the Gulf Stream slowing down. By 2003, by 2005 or so, the Gulf Stream had lost somewhere between a third and a half to a third of its mass and velocity. So they knew the Gulf Stream was in trouble. The spring of 2010, however, something else happened, and that was the British petroleum oil spill. It would be 8 years ago this spring. That changed everything. That stopped the Gulf Loop current, which is a current in the Gulf of Mexico that used to, past tense, come out between Florida and Cuba and join up with the rest of the Gulf Stream to make it what it had been for so many centuries. So the British petroleum oil spill broke the back of the Gulf Stream and stopped it. Executive summary. There is substantial evidence to indicate that significant global warming will occur during the 21st century. Because changes have been gradual so far and are projected to be similarly gradual in the future, the effects of global warming have the potential to be manageable for most nations. Recent research, however, suggests that there is a possibility that this gradual global warming could lead to a relatively abrupt slowing of the ocean's thermohaline conveyor, which could lead to harsher winter conditions, sharply reduced soil moisture, and more intense winds in certain regions that currently provide a significant fraction of the world's food production. With inadequate preparation, the result would be a significant drop in the human carrier capacity of the Earth's environment. Well, I'm living that right now. What does it say there? Sharply reduced soil moisture? That's why these pipes are freezing underground, because of sharply reduced soil moisture. I haven't done as much public presentation the last 2 or 3 years as I did between 2008 and I was on the road a lot. I'm still doing a few, but not as many. But in these audiences, I'll ask if there's any farmers engaged in growing grains. Corn, wheat, soybeans, rice, barley, oats, spelt, and so forth. And occasionally I get some hands raised, and I'll ask them about what's going on with the weather, and I'll confirm, because I already know the answer, I'll confirm that their business model, which is based on a 5-year cycle of one bad harvest for every 4 good ones, that business cycle is broken, and they can't count on weather anymore for their business to be dependable. That dependability of one bad harvest for every 4 good harvests has been in place for well more than a century, at least 150, going back 200 years of growing grains in North America. many generations. That cycle is broken. That dependability is broken. And these grain farmers, they confirm that whenever I ask them there in these presentations. If we have any grain farmers that would like to confirm that and give us a call, give us a call at 800-313-9443 and share that with us. I'm really a bit concerned with the area I live in here in south central Missouri with the ongoing drought. We had a drought, 4 or 5 years ago out west that a friend of mine drove from Texas to Colorado, and he saw hundreds of dead cattle along the way, dead from lack of moisture, lack of water. I'm not sure what these guys around here will do. They're very creative in keeping their businesses going, raising cattle, and they'll do what they have to do. They may have to sell off some of them, but they'll maintain as big a herd as they can, given the water that they have, hoping that the rains will come and replenish the stock ponds and have the hay grow, because it's grass-fed beef out here. So they're dependent on two things, water for the cattle and hay for the cattle. And, of course, the hay requires water also. It would hurt our farmers, our ranchers around here directly, and it would hurt the rest of the country in terms of higher beef prices. So I see these guys at the Cherryville store, and I talk to them, and I get caught up in what's going on, and we'll see how that works out. These 22 pages, you really need to read them. Take a few minutes, it doesn't take long. An abrupt climate change scenario and its implications for United States national security, published October 2003. It really is important. It's only going to take a few minutes of your time. I know your time is valuable, and my time is valuable to me. I know your time is valuable to you. At my website, there's a link to the U.S. Navy's website, and if you scroll down the right side, you'll see the Gulf Stream has stopped, current Navy map. And when you click on that, there'll be a screen that comes and says, warning, warning, don't go here. Your computer's going to explode. Warning, warning, don't worry about it. It's not going to harm your computer. This is a common warning on many government websites. Just bypass it. The U.S. Navy publishes a new map every 24 hours showing ocean surface temperatures worldwide. Now, despite the Gulf Stream having stopped, there is still a part of the Gulf Stream. And you can see I'm going to click on here. Let's click on the current map and see what we got. Current map. And there it is. The reds and oranges are the warmer temperatures. The blues and purples and almost black, that's the colder temperatures. And you can see the Gulf Stream in kind of a hot pink coming up the east coast of the United States. It gets to about Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, and goes off towards the British Isles. I'd say maybe 200 miles, something like that. That's it. It ends. No more Gulf Stream. I'm going to enlarge this a little bit. Let's go to 150%. Yeah. Now, just above the Gulf Stream there, you'll see dark blue and light blue, indicating colder temperatures, going east by northeast also. Now, I don't know if we can ever recover it. We had a screen capture taken before June of 2010, showing the Gulf Stream going all the way across the Atlantic to the British Isles. We had that posted there for several years. I'd like to get that back if we can. I'll be talking to Tim Spencer, see if he can fit it into his workload and recover that for us. It is fascinating to see what used to be. So the weather, most of the time is a consequence of two things. Energy coming at us from the sun and these ocean currents. That's what controls most weather most of the time. Now, there is man-made manipulation of weather. That's well documented and well understood. My friend Professor McKinney talks about that occasionally. But when it comes to most weather, most of the time, it's a consequence of those two things. Energy from the sun and what these ocean currents do and don't do. So you need to understand this. You really do. Because it's affecting our entire planet. Okay, let's go back to my website and see there, libertyman.com, and back to field training USS Liberty, December 31st, 2018. Number 4, widespread terrorist attacks. They've been sporadic. The religion of peace attacking innocent human beings. There hasn't been one for a while. I think we're probably past due for another visit by the religion of peace somewhere in Europe or the United States or someplace else. And they will do what they do, which is murder as many innocent human beings as they can with a truck running people down, or a knife attack, or a gun attack, or a suicide bomber, whatever they choose. Maybe hijacking another airplane. Why not? But that's a matter of situational awareness, avoiding places where those are more likely events to happen. Large venues, and there's plenty of large venues. Airports, sporting events, shopping malls. Lots of places that would be attractive to the religion of peace. If there was enough of them, and they got serious about targeting infrastructure such as the power grid, they could really, really disrupt our country if they chose to. That hasn't been the case so far. Last but not least, natural or man-made EMP. Something I've spent a lot of time on. I've interviewed Dr. Peter Pry here on this show. It'll be, I think, 2 years ago this coming spring. Dr. Pry was in charge of the team of scientists and engineers appointed by the government to determine what EMP can and what it cannot do, both natural and man-made. Now, natural EMP happens on a regular basis. The most dangerous one we're aware of that hit the planet was in 1859, called the Carrington event. Coronal mass ejection is the proper term for it, not EMP. Coronal mass ejection. Charged particles coming at us from the sun that when they hit the Earth, they charge up barbed wire fencing and starting fires, which happened in 1859. Charged up the wires that connected the telephone offices together, telegraph offices, I meant to say, starting fires in the telegraph offices in 1859. A Carrington event hitting Earth in 2018 could knock out most of the planet, if not all the planet, in terms of modern electronics. What a devastating event that would be. Man-made EMP can be anywhere from a small device that would take out a city block to one that could take out an entire country. The smaller ones could be based on a conventional explosive, regular old dynamite. The bigger ones would be nuclear devices set off in the upper atmosphere, 50, 100, 200 miles high, depending on the device and what they wanted to accomplish. There's been some Hollywood attention to this in the form of films. The most recent one being the new version of Red Dawn, where an EMP weapon is used. The mid-1980s miniseries called America, spelled with a K. America doesn't have and he was knocked out and taken over by Russia. And they don't say how, but if you read the book, when we've got the prologue, Tim Spencer very graciously typed it out, and it's there. Let's see here. Scroll down the right side, America spelled with a K, prologue. So you can read the prologue. It's only a few pages. And it'll tell you how Russia took over the United States, is with an EMP attack. They don't say that in the miniseries. It's an interesting miniseries and entertaining to watch it, and has somewhat informative. Let me go back to the violent earth changes for a moment, which brings up another matter. And we have a break. Call numbers 800-313-9443. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the intershelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The intershelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. J.R. Moore here on Wednesday the 17th of January. And a quick reminder, if you want to incorporate CBD oil, hemp oil, into your regimen, we have the highest quality hemp oil and CBD oil available at my website under Canaway on the left side of my homepage. The violent earth changes. There was a premise, and I believe there's some truth to it, that the belief system and the powers that be include having to inform us of what's going to happen in the future. Now, if you're making a Hollywood feature film, these things cost many millions of dollars these days. Getting anything on that film, everything that's on there, I should say, is there by design. Nothing is left to chance. Everything down to the smallest detail is very carefully orchestrated. Which brings us to the section on my website. In red letters on the left side, it says the following: global sea level rise, coincidence or foreshadow? Question mark. Coincidence or foreshadow? It's been now 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years ago, I don't recall how long ago, one of our listeners found a map of the world with different coastlines. It was in the film The Godfather, 1972. What was that, 46 years ago? The Godfather, 1972. The Godfather, the character of the Godfather, is in the Vatican for a meeting with a high-level Vatican official. The room is probably 1,500, 2,000 years old, with 20-foot ceilings. And there's a mosaic on the wall, a mural on the wall, I should say, a map of the world with different coastlines. So we thought, well, that's interesting. We'll put that on my website. And it was there for a number of years. It was down, and then we got it back up finally. A year ago this month, one of you listeners out there opened the floodgates with the following: a image of North America with new coastlines and a TV show. Now, that's the second image. I just clicked on it. The TV show was Highway Patrol starring Broderick Crawford. Now, for you youngsters out there, you don't know what TV was 60 years ago, but I did, because I was 10 years old. I was 59. I would have been 12 years old when this TV show was broadcast. And I was a big fan of Highway Patrol. I liked it. I tried to catch every episode I could. Black and white. There was 3 TV stations, not 20 or 30 or 150 or 200. There were 3. Everybody in the United States had their choice any given evening, 7 days a week, day or night, to watch their choice of 3 different TV shows. That was it. And Highway Patrol was hugely popular. They were the top of the heap for their time slot. So I'm looking at this map here. It's about 3 by 5 feet, black and white. The TV show was black and white. It is the Navy map. It really is the Navy map. There's different versions of the Navy map, but this is one version, where you've got the East Coast underwater, the Gulf Coast states underwater, an inland sea stretching up towards Lake Michigan. This one doesn't connect all the way up to Lake Michigan, and then parts of the West Coast underwater also. The character, the Highway Patrol homicide detective, he's in the office of a petroleum executive investigating a murder case he's working on. There's no connection between this map and the murder case, or the plot, or the premise of the TV show. None whatsoever. It's just there. Now you can see Broderick Crawford's in right profile. His forehead is right there by Portland, Oregon. Great image. Nice and clear and sharp. That opened the floodgates, like I said. Moving down the line, we have Superman. We've got Hunger Games. Talk about hugely popular. They tend to pick the winners, with a few exceptions. Most of these images, most of the time, are hugely popular movies or TV shows. Hugely popular. Then we go to A Beautiful Mind. Then we have Superman Returns. This next one, we're still looking for a crystal clear, sharp image from NCIS. How many people watch that every week? Tens of millions of people. Here's our break. Call number is 800-313-9443.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our Energy Cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an Energy Cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the Energy Cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the Energy Cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard. and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. All right, we are back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. J.R. Moore here on Wednesday, the 17th of January. If you have joint pain, if you have arthritis pain, if you have back pain, not getting a great night's sleep, well, you need to do what hundreds of people have done. They've got themselves an energy cleaner. My friend Ted in Hawaii, I think he bought energy cleaner number 6 the other day. And I'm seeing that more and more people buying their second, third, fourth, fifth units because they're getting relief, and they want to make sure the people they care about get relief. Also, Diane Zerger up there in the frozen Northland, she's bought more than a dozen of these units. Why would these educated, resourceful, productive people buy the second unit, or let alone the third, fourth, or fifth if the first one didn't work? Well, obviously, there's a reason why they do work. I'm offering a 90-day money-back guarantee on energy cleaner. So you're risking nothing when you buy an energy cleaner. It'll most likely work for you. Most people these days are going ahead and getting a mattress pad at the get-go. It's the most comfortable way to use the energy cleaner, most efficient, far better than these homemade aluminum screen pads, which will work, by the way. But they're not all that comfortable, and they eventually start breaking apart. They're not aluminum screenware is meant for windows, not for people's elbows and knees. The energy cleaner is $285. Should be included. American zip codes. Yes, I take PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, Diners Club, American Express. You send a check. Just get my address. It's right there at their website. Mail me a check. I'll mail you an energy cleaner. It's my home business. Toll-free hour line, 24 hours a day. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. These images are fascinating, and it's been a project of the listeners. How many hundreds of thousands of hours of TV shows and movies the past 60 years? We found a few more than 60 years old, but most of them have been 60 years or newer. One person could not possibly watch all that, but we have people that have a hobby of watching movies and TV shows, and they keep a sharp lookout. Before the break, I was talking about NCIS. I don't know how much money that show generates in revenue, but it has to be in the millions of dollars in revenue generated from advertising on NCIS. One of the characters in the TV show is the director. The director has an office, a very nice wood-paneled office, dark wood paneling. On the wall, facing the audience, it originally wasn't framed, but now it's framed, a nice gold frame, I believe, with its own light illuminating it, a map of North America with new coastlines. Here's the challenge. The challenge is to find a nice, clear, sharp version of that map. So far, we have not. The one you can see is kind of fuzzy, but you can tell Florida's underwater, and Baja California's gone. You can tell that much, at least. So, if you're an NCIS fan, you can find an image of one of these episodes with a nice, clear, sharp, crystal clear, sharp version of that map. You get that screen capture to me, and you get your choice of any of my 5 DVDs as a thank you. If you find an image on any movie or any TV show, get that screen capture to me, and you get your choice of any of my 5 DVDs as a thank you. Fascinating project. Here's one of our older ones right below that. Captain Midnight, 1955. That was a popular children's TV show. I believe I watched it when I was a boy. Then we go to Elysium, which shows the African continent with different coastlines. Dancing with the Stars, a kind of stylized version, but we got it posted there. Then a poster on the wall of a restaurant in Austin, Texas. It's kind of interesting. Next film is Tyler Perry's A Medea Christmas. Let's click on that. That's one of the more interesting images. You've got a classroom of students. I'm not a real good judge of children's ages. I would guess around 5th grade. Could be 4th, could be 6th, but I'm going to guess around 5th grade. And right in the center of the image, on the wall behind the students, is a map of the world. And it is not the map of the world that we're used to. With no Florida, no Baja California, and there's other things there. You have to really enlarge it to see the details. So it says, the heading on the map says, Relief of the Ocean Floor. Next one down, the Miami story. Now, this is what I would call a B-grade crime story that takes place in Miami in the early 1950s. And this map is basically a duplication of the map that's in Highway Patrol. They're only separated by 4 years. Nice, crystal clear, sharp map of North America. It is the Navy map. There's no doubt about it. And they've been at this quite a while, haven't they? Look magazine, one of the more interesting ones. Now, once again, for you youngsters, Look magazine was in a sizable percentage of American homes every month. Large format, full color, hugely popular publication, Look magazine. So the article has to do with UFOs. And here's the title of the article: Hunt for the Flying Saucer. So they've got North America here. They don't include Canada or Mexico, so it's just the lower 48. It's a Navy map, clearly, obviously, the Navy map. And they got superimposed on top of it these discs. They look like little saucer-type things, almost like clay pigeons, actually, at all the locations of the sightings of these flying discs. And it says, whatever it is, the Air Force must hunt for the flying saucer. And it says below that in small print, this map scared the Pentagon. It pinpoints unexplained flying saucer sightings across the nation with concentrations near vital defense installations. How about that? Doesn't say anything about it being the Navy map. I wouldn't expect it to. Below that, the Discovery Channel had a broadcast August of this year. And the TV show was about the FBI attempting to find the Unabomber. So there's an image of these FBI agents in their office discussing the Unabomber case. On the wall behind them is a Navy map in full color. We got a caller on hold here. We got Mike in Idaho. Good morning, Mike.
Morning, John. While I was still in the service in California in the early, about 1972, the Navy had released a report, in case people wonder how the coastline can change, that they had discovered a cavern off the California coast. I can't remember the depth, but it was approximately 40 to 50 feet in height and extended as far back as Sacramento. So if they have the San Andreas Fault happens to do something and that much of California drops 50 feet, that's a lot of water displacement.
It is.
And
I've heard about that cave. Yeah.
Yeah, they actually had a pretty good show on it and some information about it, and I haven't been able to find any more about it. That was the same year they dispatched another ship to go out into the Triangle to do research, and it was called the Cyclops. It was looking for another ship called the Cyclops that disappeared, and then there was never anything else. And I've tried to research, and I can't find anything on the ship called the Cyclops. But while I was still working at NASA, I wish I'd taken some pictures. I can't remember where it was at, but in some of the public area buildings, there were actually some maps of the world depicted as what you're talking about with different coastlines now.
Really?
Yes,
really?
Sir.
And which NASA location was it?
That was at Kennedy Space Center.
Okay.
Cape Canaveral, whichever way you want to call it.
Okay.
In Florida.
And what period of time was this?
I was working there from 1981, 82 till 90. Excuse me. So it was in that time frame between 81 and 90.
Okay.
But you get to looking at it, and people kind of figure you can't change the coastline like that. But if California dropped that far, that would do a lot of changing.
No kidding. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know if you can find that report anymore. It was public at the time, but it seems like a lot of these things have just suddenly been taken off the network or any way that you can find them for some reason. And whatever the reason may be, I guess they don't want people to believe it can happen. But
no.
We know as well. Well, you talk about, I can't remember the island over if it slides off and hits the ocean, what it's going to do to the East Coast. And
that's the Canary Islands.
That's been around for a long time, but I wish I don't have any more contacts at NASA. I've been gone quite a while, but there was some interesting things there on that.
Yeah, that's the Canary Islands that have that issue. It's happened before, and it's a matter of time before it happens again.
Yeah, well, I can tell you this much, and not so much how I know it, but there had been a team dispatched over there to try to see, because there's a large amount of caverns under there, honeycombed opens, to try to prevent said terrorist organization or whatever from planting charges in there and trying to make it slide. And I can't tell you how I found out about that, but
well, you don't need to. That's fine.
Yeah, that doesn't fall under the years. So.
Well, that's the Canary Islands are Spanish territory, and hopefully there's been some things put in place to keep terrorists from doing that.
Yes, sir. I agree. But it's interesting. If I can find anybody that I can still find, because you would have a very clear map of a different coastline around the world. But,
right.
But it's known. It's known. All right, John.
Listen, we appreciate the call. We appreciate the verification. Thank you, Mike. Your call number is 800. Thank you, sir. 800-313-9443. Let's look at these FBI agents. So these images span decades. We got the female FBI agent on the right, one male FBI agent seated, and another FBI agent standing. They're in a conference room. It's like just a plain old standard American conference room with a carpeted floor. These 2x4 foot, well, these are like 2x2 foot ceiling tiles with a suspended ceiling. Two whiteboards, one on the left, one on the wall behind, freestanding whiteboard on the left, and a whiteboard on the wall. And right between the two FBI agents, the two male FBI agents, is this map. It looks like about, maybe 2 by 3 feet, full color of North America. And it's a Navy map. It is a Navy map. I just enhanced it here a little bit to 200% to give it a little bit more clarity. And let's go. That's enough of that one. So we'll go back to my website. This one kind of caught me off guard. It's just a couple months ago. Louisiana Flip, the TV show is called Louisiana Flip and Move. This is a TV show about men and women who buy property, typically residential, do some fixing up, cleaning, painting, remodeling, whatever it might be. Then they resell it, and that's called flipping. So here's the image. It's a framed image of a map of the world. Below it says master bedroom, so it's supposed to be a photograph taken in the master bedroom. And if you look at the map here, it's black and white, by the way. I'm going to enlarge this a little bit. And you see, Mexico's underwater. Florida's gone. Baja California's gone. And Map of the world. Yeah, right. That's that deal there. Smithsonian Channel, Aerial America. I don't remember this one. This is Smithsonian, and they show most of North America gone underwater, and inland sea, taking out the rock, basically the what would it be? Kansas, Nebraska, the Dakotas, and so forth underwater. A little bit of Texas still there. East Coast gone, Gulf Coast gone, and so forth. A pretty scary map. It's not the usual Navy map. California's underwater. West Coast underwater, and so forth. Okay. 1997 film Contact. These aren't terribly good images, I have to admit. The setting is dark. This movie was 20 years ago, 21 years ago, but there's different coastlines on these maps, and so that we included them. I think they need to be there. 1957, 61 years ago. Here we go. Another Navy map. Black and white. Looks like about 3 by 6 feet, give or take a little bit. On the wall, mounted on the wall. It's framed, it looks like. It's the Navy map. East Coast gone, Gulf Coast gone, inland sea, California, partly underwater. 1957. Another 1957 movie called The 27th Day. And these maps aren't all that good, but they're clearly not the usual map that I would expect to see. And there we go. Now, there is another Navy map. Not terribly good, but you can tell it's a Navy map. Here's our break. Call numbers 800-313-9443. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Wednesday the 17th. Before we get to our next caller, there's something called predictive programming. And here's how this works. Everything you've ever, since that doctor first held you upside down and smacked your bare bottom when you were being born, everything you've ever seen, heard, tasted, or touched is part of your subconscious. Literally tens of millions of people worldwide, especially in the United States, have seen these images. Our friend Rick has made a very nice collage. I want to get a nice photograph of that if I can from Rick. If you're listening, I want a nice photograph of that collage of all these images on the wall at one time. It's something that would be helpful for us. Our caller is Glenn in Philadelphia. Good morning, Glenn. Can't hear you, Glenn.
Space before the end. Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now? Okay, very good. I just thought I'd touch base with you before the end of the show. It seems that the cold weather precipitation causes taller evaporation. Everybody's out shoveling, scraping, and sweeping and stuff. That's what I've been doing this morning. Busy here at work, but I just thought that was interesting. We were talking about the day after tomorrow type stuff and the weather and the maps and all. You know, it's going back and forth. We hear about global warming, climate change, and then some of the interesting things are the the possibilities of like a mini ice age, and that these mini ice ages can have their onset in as few as like 3 years. You can see the changes in over about a 3-year period, and then boom, you're in the thick of it. So with the solar minimum stuff, the effects of the Gulf oil disaster on the current, I'm blanking on the name of the current that stopped. But what was the current that stopped? The
Gulf Stream.
The Gulf Stream and the North Atlantic Drift is the one that turns over towards Britain. But, the stopping of that, the effects of Fukushima on the oceans and stuff, it certainly does seem like there's some pretty colossal, Earth effects going on. But anyway, the mini ice age thing, we're going to have, if that's the case, if we're going into a colder as opposed to ultimately a warmer period, I don't know how all this plays together. The melting of the ice caps on the one hand, and yet the weather being erratic. Erratic seems to be the word that applies. So,
erratic is a good descriptive word for what's going on. That's for sure, Glenn.
But anyway, all right. Yeah,
okay.
I didn't have anything that much to say. I just noticed what a quiet day it was, and I'm just thinking a lot of people are probably busy with the effects of the weather.
They are.
Anyway,
okay.
Have a good one.
Glenn, thank you for the call. We appreciate it. We don't have time for any more callers this morning. Tomorrow, Tim Spencer may be with us. We'll see. Tom Berryhill. We'll spend 24 minutes talking about the energy cleaner. Friday, Tom will be back with us talking about the emergency survival communications. The first hour, second hour, we'll have Dr. Phil Myers talking about health-related matters and give us our health tip of the week. Always fascinating discussions. In the meantime, get your medical supplies, your energy cleaner, your essential oils now while you can, your firearms ammunition. Never, ever give up your guns. Please do have a fun, safe, productive day. And God bless America.